That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
Alright, welcome to Around the Ring, episode 61 for today, Monday, August 29th, 2016. I'm your host, Dave Brown. Hope everyone is doing well. This week we're going to talk about all the post-SummerSlam crap that went down, for lack of a better term. It was an interesting week of wrestling. There was some really good stuff, and there was a lot of just, you could tell it was just, hey, let's get through this week because we are all coming off this really big high. And not just in WWE, Ring of Honor kind of had the same thing, but, Ring of Honor is always, they're weird, their shows are behind. So, yeah, we're going to just jump right into it. Let's first of all talk about Monday Night Raw. So, Raw last week, I forget where the fudge it was from. Oh, wait, no, Raw was in the Barclays Center, last final day in the Barclays Center. They opened the show with breaking news about Finn Balor's injury. He's going to be out for at least 6 months. So yeah, there was the moment during the main event, or one of his match at SummerSlam, where Seth Rollins did the buckle bomb onto the guardrail thing on the outside. I forgot what the hell that thing's called. It popped his shoulder out. The crazy effort just popped it back in and finished the match. That was pretty early in the match. That was a damn good match. The next day, he got up. He was sore. He figured, well, I just had to pop my shoulder and I'll be fine. Went did Good Morning America, smiling like a crazy man. Because, he has a great smile, but he's not like... He doesn't have that, like, Apollo Crews smile or that Rocky Maivia smile that you just kind of want to hate. Finn Balor just has this just great smile. Maybe it's just because he's such a damn good-looking guy. He's a really attractive man. Just had to put that out there. Anywho, so his shoulder got worse during the day. Went to the doctor. Found out, oh yeah, you effed your shit up, man. Bad. And so that was that. So the show opens with a little bit of breaking news. Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon are in the ring for an in-ring promo. They call out Finn Balor. Finn Balor comes out. And, let's talk real quick about the title belt. So last week when I recorded the show, I knew that during the Finn Balor-Seth Rollins match there were a lot of really random-ass chants, but I couldn't make them out. Come to find out that apparently this was a lot of chants about the belt itself, which people thought was ugly, and that audience just rebelled. And at that point, they'd been there for what, like 5 hours? I mean, it was at least a 6-hour event. That's exhausting. And I'm sure those seats aren't the most comfortable things in the world, and people get restless, even when you've got a great match that you're about to watch. So, I can kind of, understand that a little bit. So apparently people were freaking out about the belt. I look at the belt, and it's the same design as the World Belt, the WWE World Heavyweight Title belt. But the back part of it is red, kind of like they did with the women's title, but the strap is also red, and I think that's where people are having their conniption fits, is the strap is red. It doesn't bother me, and what really didn't bother me is Finn walks out, he's holding the belt, and it looked great on him. And maybe that's just because Finn Balor looks like a damn movie star. And he came to the ring, cut probably his best promo ever. He got "You Deserve It" chants, huge pop when he came out. Excuse me, and he cut a very good promo, gave the belt to, or Mick Foley took the belt from him, and then he left, and as he's leaving, Seth Rollins came out. And so Seth got a big pop. He hits the ring, says, look, he's the true champion, you should just give me the belt. And then that brings out Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn gets a huge pop and sing-along. Then comes out Chris Jericho. Then comes out Kevin Owens to a big pop. And then come out as Enzo and Cass to a huge pop. And then Roman Reigns comes out to boos. Chorus of boos. And the most annoying part of this whole thing is as soon as Roman Reigns' music hits, Michael Cole screams "Game Changer," and that was so fucking annoying. At this, there were "We Want Slater" chants. There was a lot of back and forth, and they decided they were going to do a little mini tournament, and that the winners of the matches on last week's Raw would face in a fatal four-way to determine the new Universal Champion on tonight's Raw. And the first match was Seth Rollins against Sami Zayn, and it was right then and there. So they come back from commercial. This is a pretty good match. Sami, they faked an ankle injury. Seth Rollins got the win, which I hated. I hated that, I know that they're not going to make Sami Zayn the Universal Champion, even though they should. But I really hated that he had to, eat the pin so early. Also, I don't know how good of an idea it was to do kind of an angle, an injury angle during this match when you just had your champion have to relinquish the title due to an actual injury. But maybe that's a way of saying, hey, Sami only lost because he was hurt, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, but it was a really good match. We then had Kevin Owens taking on Neville in a match also part of the tournament. At one point, Neville did a 450 splash off of the apron onto the floor. Jericho came out to ringside, and Neville did hit a deadlift German suplex at one point, which is always impressive, especially on Kevin Owens, because, Kevin Owens is not a very tall guy, but he's a big dude. And Neville, in comparison to almost everyone on this show, is a dwarf. I mean, the guy is teeny tiny. And just to deadlift Owens, and that, it's just impressive. Owens won thanks to some distractions from Jericho. It was a good match. These two have great chemistry. You're going to get a good match out of them. Another thing Michael Cole did during this match that was really fucking annoying is he keeps saying the wrong names of moves. And he does this a lot in a lot of matches. He did this in the Sami Zayn match. He did this in the Kevin Owens match. And Corey Graves just kind of has to go in and correct him without, trying to sound like a complete douche. But it's so frustrating listening to Michael Cole because he can be really good. He can be. And he is much better with Corey Graves than he was with JBL. But that's just because Corey Graves is much better than JBL. So, yeah. Alright, so sorry, I lose my track on my notes. So right now so here at this point they announced that Rollins and Owens will be facing the winner of Cass versus Rusev and Reigns versus Jericho. And my initial thought is, why isn't Cesaro in this? And I know he's in that best of 7 series with Sheamus, but seriously, just seriously. The New Day had an in-ring promo. Big E was handing out bootios to the crowd on his way to the ring. Huge New Day Rocks chants. These guys were super over. Big E was doing some great dancing. Gallows and Anderson come out. They're talking. They get the what treatment. That's never a good sign. This all leads into a Big E versus Carl Anderson match. Big E got the win. The WWE just loves making Carl Anderson eat pins and look like a bitch. It's just, I mean, I guess what happens later on kind of makes up for it, but we'll get there in a minute. Next, we had quite possibly the worst promo I've ever seen in my entire life. Titus O'Neil, and it just, God damn it, man! If you didn't see it, how did it's really hard to explain. It's just that fucking awful. And also, Titus O'Neil trying to be a heel is terrible. We want Slater chants during this. Bob Backlund eventually came out and attacked Titus, which then Titus attacked him. Darren Young came out, and then Titus attacked Darren Young. It was just so cringy bad. It was just terrible. There was a Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar vignette from SummerSlam. Stephanie was then backstage with Tom Phillips. Tom was asking if there were going to be repercussions for Brock, and Stephanie said there would. Excuse me. Later on, it was announced that Brock had been fined $500 for attacking old Shane O'Mac. Yeah, this is setting up for an angle. This is going to be bad. So, what happened next? Crap, I keep losing my track of my notes. So, we had then Rusev with Lana against Big Cass with Enzo. This match was a mess. Cass won by countout because Rusev just had fucking left. His ribs were taped up, and he was playing off that he was hurt. Apparently, he doesn't care about the Universal Championship. Okay. So we then had Owens Jericho backstage interview with, again, Mr. Phillips, who I really like. So the best part of this whole thing, this was incredible. At one point, Jericho said glorious. And when he did, the crowd, you could hear them in the background repeat glorious, but to Bobby Roode's theme. It was so awesome. He said glorious, and then you hear the crowd glorious. So good. Loved it. That was just go Brooklyn. You did a great job there. This interview basically was putting dissension between Jericho and Owens, but these two guys are so good together. Jericho, I think, gets tiresome after a while, but Kevin Owens brings out the best in him. We then have Charlotte and Dana Brooke come down for an in-ring promo. Dana tries to start a "You Deserve It" chant, but it doesn't do the clapping right, and so Corey Graves says, this is one of my favorite lines of the night, he says, "She's missing a clap in there." And oh my God, it was, I laughed so hard. I just thought it was great. And a lot of times for me, it's these little subtle things that really crack me up. The crowd repeating glorious into Bobby Roode's theme. Dana Brooke fucking up the clapping for the chant, and Corey Graves pointing that out. That's the kind of stuff that I love. That is just amazing. So, out comes McFoley, and there are a bunch of "We Want Bayley" chants, and he says, you know what, Sasha's hurt, so we are introducing we've signed a new person, and out comes Bayley, to the pure joy of everyone in that building, and myself included. There were a ton of hugger section signs. There were the "Hey, we want some Bayley" chants. There were "You Deserve It" chants. I love Bayley. I love Bayley. I can't tell you how much I love Bayley. She is amazing. She gets in the ring. She does the whole cheap heat thing that Mick Foley does. She borrows his gimmick. and she challenges Charlotte to a match. Charlotte says she's not dressed, but offers up Dana Brooke for the match. And this is another great subtle moment with Dana Brooke. Look on her face is like, what the fuck? Are you serious right now? So that was great. This turned into a match which Bayley won. It was fantastic. I mean, it was a great debut. And WWE right now has, I think, 3 of the best, if not the 3 best baby faces in all of professional wrestling. In Bayley, Sami Zayn, and Johnny Gargano. These 3 embody everything that it means to be a babyface. And we'll get to Gargano when we talk about the Cruiserweight Classic. But Bayley here is just perfect. And they play their cards right. But with her, they will be just printing money. And same with Sami Zayn and Johnny Gargano. They're money. Just get ready. The printing presses. It's going to be great. We had Roman Reigns doing a backstage interview, sporting a man bun. I don't remember anything else other than that. Sheamus did a backstage interview with Andrea. At one point, he tried to say bejesus, but he said bejesus, which cracked me up. It was just really funny. But that's all I got out of that interview. Braun Strowman had a match with a scrub named Johnny Knockout. Byron Saxton is in the ring again doing his jobber interviews and asked, why would you take this match? And Johnny Knockout gave the best answer humanly possible. Because I like big sweaty men. It was brilliant. There were let's go jobber chants during this. It was your standard squash. And it was there. But between the because I like big sweaty men and let's go jobber chants, that was the best part of this whole thing. The Dudley Boys came out to do an in-ring promo, and it was a really great, I mean, they turned themselves babyface immediately. It was an emotional goodbye promo. They were just, you could tell it was their time to say goodbye, and the Shining Stars came out and interrupted them. And this was fantastic until these 2 jamokes came out. The Dudleys attacked the El Matadors, Shining Stars, whatever the fuck those losers are called, hit their moves. They got out a table for 3D, and as they were doing that, Anderson Gallows came out, attacked the Dudleys, and they did put Devon through a magic killer on the table, and this was great. In one segment, and I'm actually borrowing this thought from Solid Monster because I hadn't quite put all this together, but in this one segment, the Dudley Boys turned babyface, took out some jobbers, said their goodbye, and put over a new heel team, all in one segment. It was great. Let's see. We then had Chris Jericho against Roman Reigns. The crowd was kind of behind Reigns in this match, sort of. I mean, that's my note, but I'm trying to really think back to it. Because honestly, I'm not a big fan of Roman Reigns, and it's nothing against him. I think he's a good wrestler. He's got a great look and everything. I find him boring at this point, and him being shoved down our throat. The last thing, he does not need to be in the world title picture, the Universal title picture at all. He needs to be in the mid-card for a couple of years. And Chris Jericho's fine. I'm just not thrilled with his matches. So, Owens came out. Reigns did win with one spear. God damn it. That's the stuff that irritates me. So, at one point, Reigns ate a super kick from Owens when he had his... Owens is on the floor. Reigns kind of had his head out through the ropes, and he got hit with a super kick, and then that went into a code breaker from Jericho, and he kicked out of that, and he just hits one spear and it's over. I don't get it, man. I don't see the spear as that devastating of a move. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it hurts like a bitch. I don't know. It seems like a setup move, not a finishing move. And when Reigns hits it, normally people just die, and that's irritating. So tonight, as I'm recording this, on Monday Night Raw, there will be a Fatal 4-Way. Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns versus Big Colin Cassidy for the WWE Universal Championship. I hope that Kevin Owens wins this. They need Kevin Owens to win this. What's probably going to happen is either Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins wins. If they were super ballsy, they'd put it on Big Cass, but he's nowhere near ready to be the champion. So yeah, that's what's coming up tonight. And maybe we'll get another awesome Titus O'Neil promo. Yay! Whew. Alright, so SmackDown Live. The show opened up with Baron Corbin, Eric Rowan, Apollo Crews, and Rhino all just kind of hanging out backstage in the locker room. AJ Styles came in bragging about his munch, beating up John Cena. And at first you don't notice this, but Dolph Ziggler's also in the room, sitting in a chair with his head kind of in between his legs, looking dejected. And AJ gets kind of up in his face, and Ziggler attacks AJ before they're pulled apart. Goes to the ring where all the tag teams and women wrestlers are in the ring. And there are a couple tables with a new women's and tag team titles. Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan come out. They announce that at Backlash there will be a 6-pack challenge for the SmackDown Women's Championship, which gets Becky a chance. And that there will be a tournament that will finish at Backlash for the tag team titles. Heath Slater comes out to a huge pop. And So we've got these two belts. AJ Styles comes out super pissed. Dolph Ziggler comes out and attacks AJ in the walkway. That was kind of it. But the big takeaway from this is two things. One, Heath Slater is over like a motherfucker. When he came out, he said, he wanted to be part of this. They told him he wasn't equipped to fight for the women's championship. He said he wanted in for the tag team championship, and he was told, look, if you can find a partner, and if you can win the tournament, you can get a SmackDown contract. So then we had Becky Lynch taking on Alexa Bliss with Naomi and Natalya on commentary. There were Becky chants. Becky got the win with a fantastic counter that she did into the disarmer. Becky is just on this whole other level from everyone else on that roster. Natalya is good, but she's kind of WWE good, and Nikki Bella's gotten better and isn't terrible. But you look at Carmella, you look at Alexa Bliss has a lot of potential. She's just still really green. Naomi is there, I guess. Not a huge fan of hers. So we get Heath Slater backstage talking with The Miz. It turns out The Miz actually isn't talking to him. He's got a phone call on a Bluetooth thing. It was a silly segment, whatever. The Ascension versus the Usos, part of the tag team tournament. So during this, JBL was actually talking up the Ascension, which made no sense considering he buried them before. Usos got the win. This was probably the best match the Ascension's had since coming to, the main roster. But it was a match, We then had AJ Styles doing an in-ring promo. He says he should be the number one contender. Ziggler comes out. Sorry, had to sneeze. I should probably edit that out, but that takes effort and stuff, so I apologize. So Daniel Bryan comes out. Bryan makes a match for Ziggler versus Styles. If Styles wins, he gets a shot at the title of Backlash. If Dolph wins, that title match will be a triple threat. So really, no matter what, Styles was getting a match, going to Backlash. We then had Carmella versus Nikki Bella. Renee Young was in the ring to interview Nikki before the match started, but Carmella attacked her, beat the utter bejesus out of her. That's how you say that, Sheamus, bejesus. Hitting Nikki with one of the Bella moves. It's that face plant, I don't know what it's called thing. This combined with what happened during Talking Smack, Carmella is pretty much turning heel, which is what they need to do. She needs to be a bitchy character now that she's not with Enzo and Cass. She can't do the whole catchphrase thing. She can't do the moonwalking thing. She just needs to be a pissed off New York princess girl. And she'll do fine. Randy Orton came out for an in-ring promo. He was joined by Bray Wyatt, so it looks like they're being matched up. Shane McMahon has a backstage interview about Brock Lesnar. He's pissed that Stephanie fined Brock only $500. Yep. That's probably going to happen at WrestleMania. Get ready, folks. We then had Heath Slater backstage talking with Arn Anderson. This was funny. He's saying, basically begging Arn Anderson to be his partner. Well, Arn's, bless his heart, he's in his 60s. He can't wrestle. He hasn't been able to wrestle for years. One of the most emotional things I ever saw was his retirement in WCW. Because Arn Anderson is one of, if not my favorite wrestler of all time. I love Arn Anderson. And, so this was funny. And at one point, Heath said, "You're my last hope." And Arn's like, "Wait a minute, I wasn't your first option? Then you got a problem." So he leaves. Heath's all sad. And Rhino comes in. Rhino says he'll be his partner. So it looks like it is Rhino. Rhino and Heath Slater are going to face a mystery team tomorrow night. Apparently that mystery team might be the Headbangers. Yeah, they can't bring up the Revival, but you can bring in the Headbangers. Okay, then. We have Breezango against American Alpha, part of the tag team tournament. So my whole thing with this is the problem that I think the SmackDown tag team division has right now is that, with the exception of American Alpha and the Usos, the other teams pretty much look like jobbers, and which is really messed up considering how great Tyler Breeze is. But this match was really good. They did a good job of making it seem like Breeze and Fandango might actually win. It was a very competitive match. And I do think this pairing has been great for Fandango. If it gives him something to do, gives Tyler Breeze something to do, and Tyler Breeze is so freaking awesome. It's a shame they're not doing more with him. American Alpha did get the win, but it was a really fun match. Dean Ambrose, Prop Comic Dean, as the guys over at Voices Wrestling like to call him, had a backstage interview. Then he headed to the ring for commentary for the main event, which was Dolph Ziggler against AJ Styles. Ziggler was just being super aggressive in this match, and this was a great fucking match. I mean, this was, outside of the Cruiserweight Classic, this was the best match I saw all week. Styles got the win, but one thing I'm always just baffled by is the number of guys that wrestle while chewing gum. How they don't swallow their gum, I don't know. I really don't. I know this is a little thing; it's kind of weird and silly, but I don't know how they don't choke on their gum. And that was SmackDown. Between the two shows, I think overall SmackDown was better. Again this week. It's so funny. SmackDown, really, if you just look on paper at the two rosters, SmackDown has more big stars, but their roster is not very deep. Whereas Raw's roster is a lot deeper, but SmackDown has been putting on consistently better shows. Which takes us to the post-show Talking Smack. I hadn't watched Talking Smack yet, and I've heard good things about it, that basically it's Daniel Bryan just ripping into people left and right. But there was a lot of buzz about The Miz on this episode, so I watched it. And it started out, they had Nikki Bella out, Carmella came out and attacked her. And what was really great about this is a lot of the subtle things. Renee Young just had this look of shock. It was almost like it was real. And this show feels a whole lot more real than anything else they're doing on, Raw or SmackDown, because it doesn't feel completely scripted. But once that kind of calmed down, the Usos came in, and I'm realizing Jimmy Uso is a funny guy. He's actually really charismatic. Jay, not so much. And Daniel Bryan straight up asked them, "Hey, you guys are getting boos. What's up?" And they pretty much said it's because we've been hanging out with Roman Reigns. And Jey Uso was not happy about that. The seeds are being planted for a heel turn with these guys. I can see it coming. And then the thing that people have just been talking about like crazy, the Miz came out just all pissed. He's the Intercontinental Champion, and he tears into Daniel Bryan. And they have one of the most passionate back and forth, heated exchanges, because there's a lot of reality blended into it. There's a lot of, you can just tell, frustration. There's Daniel Bryan said that he thought The Miz wrestled like a coward. The Miz said, "Hey, I've never been injured. You haven't seen me out for long periods of time due to injury. I'm the Intercontinental Champion." It was just fucking great. It was the best thing I've ever seen The Miz do. And if they can build on this, then The Miz, he's never going to be world champion level. But if they can build on this, then he is going to be a credible, very credible upper mid-card guy. And really, they're going to need to keep that Intercontinental title on him for a long, long time. And that would just be great. And the tension between these two is fantastic. If Daniel Bryan was ever cleared to wrestle, I could see this, culminating in a match between the two of them. I don't think that's going to happen, but the tension there is just fantastic, and this was great. And needless to say, I will be watching Talking Smack every week because it was just fantastic. So let's move on to NXT. NXT was mostly highlights of TakeOver. But there were two matches. Ty Dillinger against Wesley Blake. This was taped during TakeOver Brooklyn. Dillinger was super over. Wesley Blake has new music, which sucks balls bad. And at one point during the match, there were Blake's a zero chants. Dillinger got the win, and, wasn't bad. Wasn't anything to write home about, but it wasn't bad. There was a series of backstage interviews with Bobby Roode, Austin Aries, Bayley. The Bayley interview, she was joined by Ember Moon for a minute, and the Revival had an interview. And then the main event was TM61, or TM61, I'm not sure how that's supposed to be pronounced. It's The Mighty Don't Kneel against the Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering. I tell you what, Shane Thorne really reminds me of Alex Wright from when Alex Wright was young in his early WCW days. And the other thing is, every time Tom Phillips says Nick Miller, I think of the Nick Miller rap from New Girl. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's great. I'm going to, after I'm done recording, I'm going to go. I'll try to find it to play at the end of the episode. So, yeah, hopefully that will happen. But the whole time I'm just chuckling to myself. See, it's these little things. I'm such a weirdo. The Authors of Pain got the win. I tell you what, TM61 came in with a lot of, they were well known on the independents. They were a really kind of looked up to team, and since they've been in NXT, they've just been just nothing, and it's kind of sad. They've just been jobbed out, and it's just kind of it's sad. So that was NXT, really a nothing show. We had the Cruiserweight Classic, and this is the last batch of round 2 matches. And the first match was Lince Dorado against Rich Swann. Tell you what, Swann is super over. And the opening exchange was a lot of them just kind of back and forth trying to one-up each other. It reminded me a lot of those opening minutes of the very famous Ricochet Will Ospreay match. But this was a just unbelievable match. Rich Swann won with Phoenix Splash. The whole thing was great. They need to sign Lince Dorado. He was fantastic. This was awesome. Just can't go wrong with this. It was, one of the best matches of the week. We then had Johnny Gargano doing a backstage interview. He had Tommaso Ciampa with him. He was getting his knee taped up. They talked about his knee, and the announcers talked about how he just had this knee injury from Saturday during the match with the Revival where they messed up his knee. And what I didn't realize about this, and Solid Monster mentioned it on his show yesterday, was that this stuff was taped a couple weeks ago. So they already had in the plans, they knew how that match at TakeOver was going to go down, and they planned it going into this match. And you could even see during that interview the seeds of the Tommaso heel turn that's going to come. And just Johnny Gargano is just the fighting baby face, and yeah, you just want to cheer for this guy. So this was great setup. We then had Zack Sabre Jr. versus Drew Gulak, and there was this great, nice, angry, fierce start to this match. His Gulak was just pissed that he isn't being considered one of the favorites to win this whole thing. Zack Sabre Jr. was super over. The whole match was just a grappling clinic. Sabre got the win, but just barely. And this was fantastic. I mean, this was a great match, lots of fun. And then we had the main event, Johnny Gargano against T.J. Perkins. Both of these guys were super over. T.J. Perkins got the win, and after working over the knee, he had his knee bar submission, got the win. Gargano had to tap, which he just wanted Johnny to win so bad. He's just the perfect underdog babyface, just like Bayley, just like Sami Zayn, just like Daniel Bryan was when he turned face. So this was a great match. Gargano's become one of my favorite wrestlers right now. I would say this was probably the match of the week, followed by the Dorado Swann match, and then followed by the AJ Styles Dolph Ziggler match, and then the Zack Sabre Jr. Drew Gulak match. So all 3 matches on the Cruiserweight Classic this last week were fantastic. If you're not watching this show, you really should. Next week starts the, semifinals. So we're getting there closer. The Cruiserweights will debut on Raw on September 19th, I think was the date I heard. And it's basically the Raw after the tournament ends. So yeah, it would be September 19th. It'll be interesting to see who they get. I'm really looking forward to it. There was a mock-up of a Cruiserweight title floating around. I saw pictures of online this morning, and it is basically the same design as the Universal Worlds and Women's Championship belts, but it's in purple. I'm okay with it. I mean, it's fine. I like that design of that belt. And I think it's kind of cool that they're keeping the belt designs between the two brands the same. And then you've got the Intercontinental and the U.S. belts are their own kind of unique thing. I like that aspect. Ring of Honor this week was not a whole lot. I really wasn't paying that close attention to it as I watched it. Jonathan Gresham and Adam Page had a match, which Page won, super sloppy match. The Cabinet, which is the All Night Express and Caprice Coleman, had this weird backstage promo about make wrestling great again. This is something I missed in the weeks when I wasn't watching Ring of Honor. We had Stuka Jr. from CMLL make his Ring of Honor and United States debut against Kamatachi with Christopher Daniels. Stuka Jr. got the win. I honestly fast-forwarded through most of this. There was a Kevin Sullivan, BJ Whitmer, Steve Corino vignette that was just kind of weird. Then Jay White with Motor City Machine Guns took on Jay Briscoe with Mark Briscoe. It was a time limit draw that just kind of ended out of nowhere. What I saw, this match was pretty good, though. I'm sure they're going to have another one. And I also watched or at least some of the Cody Rhodes Zack Sabre Jr. match from Evolve 66 from last weekend. It wasn't bad. I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I didn't watch the whole thing because it was kind of a 25-minute long match, I think. So I watched the opening bit and then I watched the end of it, and yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be fine. And that is going to do it for us today. I whipped through all that stuff really quickly, but this was last week that was just, happened. Sometimes after these big events, there's not a whole lot goes down, and that was this last week. So that's going to do it. I'm now going to go look for that Nick Miller rap because you guys have got to hear that. And otherwise, we're out of here. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. So as Jerry Springer always says, take care of yourselves and each other.
Nick Miller, almost a lawyer.
This is a sad song. This is the saddest song in the world.
Yes, it is.
This is a sad...
You just keep singing, man.
Okay. This is a sad song. Hey, hey. Sad song in the world.
Got a nice voice, man.
It is so weird being sober right now.
Can I get some weird rapping?
Nick Miller from the streets of Chicago, 'cause players play like they did.
Sad song.
'Cause the ballers ball in the hood, 'cause he's Chi-Town hustle.
In the world.
The people of Chicago represent him, 'cause the players don't play and the players in the city.
Nick Miller's a stone cold killer.
Huh, sing it, you feel.
Likes the taste of vanilla.
Nick Miller, he's the illest of the ill.
Cece's rapping.
He pours 100 drinks and none of ever spill.
Was he super high on a bunch of pain pills?
His favorite movie is The Big Chill.
He's got a hairy chest cause he eats a balanced meal.
Hey, hey.
Mad flavor in his ear.
Sad song.
'Cause the ice in my glass represents the tears from my eyes. I love you, dog.
This is a sad song.
Nick Miller, yo, streets of Chicago, rough and tumble, one love, you my heart.
Nick Miller never does anything.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view. And believe.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Bam! Woo!
That sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
What? It's for charity.